Hey, it's Nick from This Week in Film. Just wanted to give you a heads up that the following recording was recorded live. So there are a few visual elements, and we may be acknowledging people that you won't get to hear from. So thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Hello, Bryn Mawr and all the cities across the world. It's This Week in Film live from Bryn Mawr.
Showcase Comics.
That's right, Dan. I'm Nick Panunto, joined as always by Dan Moran, and Charlie Chester is the man of honor today as we're here for his book signing. Hi, Charlie. Charlie's not on mic. He's all the way across the room. Distant Charlie. There's a whole lot of activity going on today, Dan. A lot of it is not going to be heard on the audio podcast, but if you're tuning in right now on the Facebook, you're in for a treat because we are doing an extra long show today, and we're going to talk about movies and comic books. Two of my favorite things. Dan, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while.
Doing all right, man. How about you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. Happy to be here.
Charlie, would you like to come on over? Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Come on over. Hello, Bryn Mawr and all the cities across the world. It's This Week in Film, live from Showcase Comics in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. I'm Nick Panunto, joined as always by Dan Moran, and for the first time and an even longer time,
yeah, it's been a while.
Charlie Chester.
Hey,
Charlie,
recognize that voice, huh?
Why are we here today, Charlie?
I'm having a book signing for my book BoyZero, which we talked about, or I talked about quite a bit back in the day. Yeah, I wouldn't shut up about it. So, yeah, finally got my first book signing today here in Bryn Mawr, and I appreciate the support. I appreciate you guys coming out and doing your show from here.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
we definitely
no problem.
Started on time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
had no technical difficulties at all.
I'm being told to scooch closer to you, so don't.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
Well, it's about to get cozy. That's
Yeah.
fine.
No, just nuzzle me in your pit.
Someone
Thanks.
has been working out. So Dan, you're also here. How's it going?
Absolutely. It's going great, man.
Have you
Thanks
written
for
a comic book?
I haven't written a comic book, but yeah, you asked me to be on the show, so here we are.
Excellent.
I'm glad to be here.
So, as you know, this is the weekly podcast where we get together, talk about the movies we've seen over the past 7 days, but we haven't done a show in a couple of weeks because the best way to build momentum moving towards a live show is to just not do one for a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, I've been chomping at the bit.
Yeah, so I'm excited, and we're going to get started. We've got some special guests lined up along the way,
Definitely.
and we're just going to play it by ear and do it this show our regular way. So, Dan, what have you seen this week in film?
So this week I watched the James Mangold directed Logan. So for those of you who haven't seen Logan, don't know the story, it's the final Wolverine movie for Hugh Jackman, and it's in a future where you're not quite sure what has happened, but bad things have happened, and Wolverine is basically by himself with Professor X. And he's taking care of him down in Mexico, and then a mysterious woman shows up with a little girl and ruins the relative peace that Wolverine has found for himself. So I really liked this movie. I think the Wolverine movies, all 9 of them, kind of got better as they went along. But yeah, this was definitely a good way to send off Hugh Jackman from a character that he's been playing for 17 years at this point.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was great. We've talked about it a few weeks ago when it was in theaters, and now it's out on video. And Midwest Matt, who's been on the show a couple of times, has said that watching the movie was wonderful, but to try to sit through it again would be like torture because it's a very drawn out, like just a bad experience, but like it pulls at your heart. You feel the whole movie,
Well, yeah, it's definitely like unlike some of the other what I feel some of the other X-Men movies and Wolverine movies, more specifically, I guess X-Men Origins Wolverine. You actually kind of care about everybody in the movie.
That movie doesn't exist.
Yeah. Okay, it's kind of like the Rocky V of the X-Men movies. But
we talked about Rocky V already today. Rocky V is a masterpiece.
So it was really bleak in the beginning, and actually it watching the first 20-30 minutes with just kind of the very slow build and the music involved, it was almost like 28 Days Later starring Wolverine in that sort of way.
Yeah.
In that you're kind of trying to figure out what the heck is going on during that first little bit, and you really don't figure out why things are exactly the way they are. I read a little bit about it. I know it's based on the Old Man Logan storyline where at some point Wolverine basically got tricked into killing all the other X-Men, which is why he's kind of alone and depressed, and now he's just kind of hanging out.
I have not read the Old Man Logan storyline. I think in the movie they kind of alluded to that, but maybe went a different direction. So in the comic book, it's based in an alternate future where all the supervillains have taken over America and split it into different parts. Mm-hmm. And at one point they decide to kill all the superheroes, and in that they attack Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Children, and Wolverine is fighting for his life, trying to save all of his friends, and he thinks he's killing all of these supervillains that are attacking the school, and it turns out that it's just a big illusion by Mysterio, and he actually just killed all of the X-Men. So, whoops.
Yeah. So he ends up actually, he tries to kill himself at one point by laying under a train. It doesn't work, but that was kind of symbolically killing off the Wolverine persona, and why he becomes just refers to himself as Logan at that point.
Oh,
yeah. I saw an interview with James Mangold, and he was saying that. I guess him and Hugh Jackman were really good friends. In the middle of the night, Hugh Jackman just calls him up. I guess he fell asleep and woke up, and on TV, The Wrestler was playing.
Okay.
And so he just woke up like really depressed. He's like, this is perfect. This is what we got to do. We got to do, we're going to send him out to the tone of like The Wrestler and Unforgiven.
Okay.
And then they're constantly talking about, what's the Western that they're talking about?
Shane.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Which is a death of Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
Shane is essentially the end of that genre, where the hero is becomes the anti-hero in a way. So that's why they're constantly referencing it.
Okay.
So like that in a big way, they're actually saying this is the death of superhero movies down the line in this chronology of how things go. Like the way the Dodo, this is it. This is how it should end, on a dark note, Which, yeah, like when I was watching that, I was like, they just killed my childhood.
Right, yeah, basically.
What was it, the late 90s cartoon, X-Men or whatever? Yep. Like that's where it started, and this is where it ended. I'm like, this is the saddest thing ever.
Which is funny because that's basically where I form a lot of my opinions of the X-Men movies now, is from how much I liked that X-Men cartoon as a kid. It was fantastic. So, because they basically, I guess, started with kind of Days of Futures Past kind of timeline in that cartoon. Yeah. And it's kind of, come to pass on the screen. And that was actually a pretty good X-Men movie too, Days of Futures Past.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah. It was fantastic. But Logan, I think, is right up there. And, it's kind of, Wolverine's always been kind of, a bit of a complicated guy. He's always trying to kind of, I guess, get redemption for his past, kind of where he started is basically just, Charles Xavier, again, he references it where he says, when we found you, you were trained to be a pit fighter, you were addicted to barbiturates, that sort of thing. So now he's trying to find redemption again. And at the end of this movie, I think he really kind of does, when he becomes, a father to, X-23, I guess is the character. It was really good. Even that little girl, it was interesting to see like how they kind of dealt with that. Like she's a little girl and she's trying to be a little girl in the scene where she's riding the pony and getting really mad because the pony ride is over outside the store. But then she's she was a killing machine 10 minutes before that.
Right.
Yeah, you almost see that like the character that she's supposed to mirror, which is the Wolverine and whatnot, is now taking a step further as a character and she has what he never had. So perhaps the character will grow a little bit more and have more of a chance to be something more than he was, you know? I mean, that's what I was taking from it.
Yeah, and they definitely, and I think they kind of reference that as well when he says, don't become what they made you, kind of towards the end of the movie, which I thought was a really good line. And I love the fact that it was R-rated, which I think it really needed to be. There's finally a R-rated Wolverine movie, and right off the bat, besides just the bleak tone of the movie, you knew it was going to be different, from that very first scene where, he stabs a guy through the face and you see it, unlike, kind of the PG-13, kind of X-Men movies.
Yeah.
And all the other action. And then also you get to see finally, I think I read an interview with Hugh Jackman where he said, the phrase he's heard so many times from fans when, talking about him, about his portrayal of Wolverine is, I wish I saw, a berserker rage. And you get to see that at the end of the movie too, when he takes the drug, and you finally get to see, him as like old Wolverine and going through everybody like he should have been in all the other movies.
How many times has he practiced that sound effect that he came up with?
Yeah, like
I just imagine day in and day out he's just
screaming into the mirror.
Did you see that video that he posted online of him in the ADR session?
Oh yeah, that's great.
That was great.
That's fantastic to watch. But like, he couldn't screw it up. There's too many people, too many eyes on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the video game, like that sound effect was perfect. So yeah, I give him credit because he's had so much pressure on like a fan favorite character, and he's nailed it every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude.
Well,
I don't think X-Men Origins is his fault.
it doesn't exist.
Wolverine Origins
Doesn't exist. It's not a real movie. And what I really enjoyed about it was how down to earth it was.
Mm-hmm.
It took the viewer's intelligence like in hand, like the idea that there's this future where terrible things have happened, everything is brown or dead. I mean, I know that for most of the movie they're in the Southwest, but but everything is dead. So clearly there's been like long droughts. There's been a lot of time has passed since there was any green. There's automated vehicles everywhere, and that one throwaway line that does annoy me where he says these dumb auto trucks, but like you live in a future where there's no more truckers, there's no more real industry around. Like everywhere is just desolate until you get to where they go to the Vegas, and even there's really nothing but phoniness.
You're right. It's just electric lights
and what I think is interesting is as they go north, as things become greener and like life starts springing up around them, the relationship between Wolverine and the girl really starts to blossom also. So by the time they reach the northern border where everything is green and everything is beautiful again, so is his soul.
Aww. Taught a robot to love.
Yeah. But it's a smart movie. The stakes are very low in it. Like it's a very low stakes movie. If Wolverine does not succeed, the only thing that happens is this kid is dead.
Yeah, really.
Which is not something small.
Yeah,
but,
you don't want to throw that
but
away.
It's not blue light in the sky.
Well, it's kind of like Noah's Ark in a way, right? Like, I mean, those were the last mutants, right? Like they have to, if they didn't survive, then all mutant kind would have died off completely.
Well, that's the thing, and that's another thing you would say, that there wasn't any vegetation, anything like that, and then there also weren't any mutants in this world. Right. I guess they kind of, the one guy, the doctor, who I didn't think was a great character, but he was obviously necessary. His dad was the head of the original Weapon X project. Yeah. Wolverine killed him, and then but then he kind of explained, he kind of like weeded out mutants just by basically drugging everybody to get rid of like normal mutants. But I did wonder at the end of the movie, obviously the mutants were created, these kids, but if they kind of reproduce, do they produce mutants, or is it passed on their DNA, or is it just die out because they were kind of created?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Well, they're all clones, right?
Yeah, they're all Wolverine clone and
from
various people. Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and
I guess we'll have to wait for the sequel.
yeah, and I think So overall, great movie. If I had to kind of nitpick, the only thing is the main, I guess, antagonist. Is the same kind of problem that Marvel runs up against, is that their villains are kind of the least compelling parts of these movies.
Yeah,
and because that guy. I mean, while he had like a cool accent or whatever, he did his thing, but he basically just showed up and got his ass kicked every time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
I read a thing about him. I don't remember the character's name, but somebody said he was just doing a straight up Val Kilmer from Tombstone impression.
Oh shit, yeah.
I forget where I saw that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah. So now, if Val Kilmer had a robot hand, that was pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think every villain they've ever had in these movies is pretty one-dimensional, with the exception of the last Wolverine movie, the Wolverine.
Yeah,
I thought that guy was a little
Sam
well-rounded character,
Yeah,
as more well-rounded than most.
That's another movie that's like 3/4 of a pretty good movie. Like I loved the Wolverine. I thought it was great, especially the unrated version because they put all the blood back into it. But that's a movie like it's great, and then it gets to the fourth act or whatever, and it just kind of falls apart where he's fighting the Silver Samurai. And wasn't the Silver Samurai that, spoiler alert?
yeah.
That was the old man.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's that's just like Tony Stark fighting. Spoiler alert, Obadiah Stane in the first Iron Man, where they're like, we gotta end this somehow, so you're gonna fight that guy.
Mm-hmm.
What's really interesting about the movie is that how they progress. It's the story. It's not the fighting that makes that X-Men movie or even the comic books. It's not the fighting that makes it great. It's the story. I'm actually reading Uncanny X-Men right now. Like I started from issue 1. And I think I'm at like 62 or 63, which is like, I think it started in 1963. So where I am right now is like 1969, which is interesting. But what's the best parts of the comic are when they're just talking to each other. Like the fighting is just almost shoehorned in every issue because like,
you have to have a fight.
You got to have a fight in here, and it's like. But like the themes of X-Men, which is basically analogous to civil rights and equal rights for everybody, are so heavy-handed in the comic that it's brilliant. Like it's perfect. Like there's even like women's lib stuff and everything. Hi, welcome to This Week in Film. But anyway, I just wanted to brag that I was reading a book.
I'm reading.
Humble brag.
Yeah.
Right. So great way to send Wolverine off. I mean, I think through his movies there were some better villains they could have used, but they could have ended up just being kind of villains they've already done in other movies, like too much like them. So if you brought in, say, like Omega Red, it's almost too much like that terrible villain from Iron Man 2. But I think it was a kind of a good send off, and it's, I think in Wolverine, I kind of mentioned the antagonist, but I think in the end he's just kind of almost fighting against himself, like his past and that sort of thing. So it's almost like Iron Man 3 in that way, in that he's just like kind of fighting his own kind of vision of himself at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, great movie.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that this is the last time he's going to play Wolverine.
No, he'll come back for like another appearance or something, but
I mean, they've already split like the timeline, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't make any.
We're on a new timeline.
Doesn't make any sense. Like they're doing Dark Phoenix next,
right?
Yeah, that's the next.
And
X-Men movie.
they're still sticking with the cast from Apocalypse, which is terrible. That girl from Game of Thrones cannot act. She is terrible.
Well, also tell me if I'm wrong, but like Deadpool being on this new timeline, right? Cable is a time traveler, no?
Right.
So
he can go
anything
back
can happen.
Right.
Yeah,
point,
that's true. Yeah. They can just make standalone movies and it would be great. Charlie. That is the end of our Logan segment.
Yeah, it was good.
It's time for some BoyZero talk.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about? You can ask me anything you like.
What was the inspiration behind BoyZero?
Well, I kind of wanted to embody like the way when I grew up, emo was Smashing Pumpkins. Like that was like, that was the hot topic store, Smashing Pumpkins. So during the 90s when I was growing up, trying to create a character that would have been an archetype for like me at that time, like that tortured artist sort of thing. So the main character from it is essentially me. But the inspirations for the murder mysteries and whatnot all come from my love of Stephen King and Agatha Christie from early Stephen King, I would say. Like when it was fun and you got around like the TV for like a miniseries Stephen King, like It or classic like Langoliers.
Yeah, or Tommyknockers.
Tommyknockers, yeah.
I never saw Tommyknockers.
It might be a tough one to watch
now.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I just can't get past the title.
Yeah.
So
Tommyknockers are aliens, Nick. Just so you know.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. I feel like in most Stephen King stories, when he's falling short of like a good explanation of what things are going on, somehow an alien becomes an alien out of nowhere. But yeah, so I wanted to like kind of get that feeling of like the miniseries back in the day. So that's why like I've paced the book specifically to be like a TV miniseries, like a 3-parter or a 2-parter, which is why we broke the book up into 2 volumes.
Both available for sale
at any Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com.
Also, Showcase Comics.
Showcase Comics in Bryn Mawr.
Where we are live in Bryn Mawr.
So yeah, I mean, those are the basic inspirations. I mean, the character of Drecker, the main character in it, actually came from the movie Seven. I really enjoyed that movie, and it kind of sunk into my subconscious when I was writing it. So I took the basic structure of that character, and then I started piling on like a different backstory to him, like who he is and whatnot. And then he morphed into something completely new, but that's where he ended up starting from. And then actually all the kids in the story, I don't know if I've ever actually talked about this. I pulled them all.
This is a This Week in Film exclusive.
Yeah, exclusive. All the kids in the movie, when I was doing my thesis in grad school, I was obsessed with neorealism filmmaking.
Which is what?
Neorealism filmmaking, thank you for asking, is it feels like a documentary. And by all means, when you're watching it, you can be fooled very easily into it being a documentary. There actually is a movie called Germany Year Zero, which was a big inspiration on this. And it takes place right after the Nazis got their asses kicked in Germany. And the whole premise of the movie is a little boy rummaging around in like a destroyed Germany, just trying to survive like a rat. And he's just in these abandoned buildings that have been destroyed. And he's constantly getting hassled by like homeless guys and like all this stuff. And he finds like a piece of an old record that is like a Hitler propaganda record. And it's about him dealing with like the heartbreak of his parents' mistakes and like what he has become. And it ends on a pretty up note. He jumps out of a window and kills himself. Oh. So yeah, it's but it's shot and looks a lot like
defenestration.
Like another one would be like 400 Blows. Trying to think of other examples. There's a Indian film called Pather Panchali, which was another inspiration for it. So what I did was I plucked the characters from each one of these and I put them into the story. So Germany Year Zero, I took that little boy and I made him Edmund, one of the characters in this. From Pather Panchali, the little girl from that, Durga, plucked her out. I put her in. And then there was a few other films, Forbidden games. It's a French film about a little girl who there's an air raid in her village, and her family's been through so much, but and like they're migrating out, and her parents are killed, and she's an orphan, and she's like 6 years old, and she's just wandering around aimlessly. She befriends a dog, and it's about them just wandering the countryside, and then another air raid comes and kills the dog. It's another happy-go-lucky film. But that little girl...
Was that the inspiration for John Wick by any chance?
The little girl in that movie is called Paulette. So she ends up being one of the main characters in my book. So I took all these characters that kind of had a depressing... didn't get a good run in their lives, in cinematic life. I tried to give them a second chance in this book and actually fight to survive in a way.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So, was there any particular film or story that led you to kind of the timeline of how you told it? Because I've read volume 1, and it's really cool, and it keeps me interested. And you start off, it's like however many weeks before 0, and then you go however many like days after 0, and you kind of jump back and forth, and it kind of keeps you going. You're like, what? Because you're like every time you're like, hey man, I want to find out what the hell happened at 0.
Right.
So, is there any particular story that kind of inspired you to do it that way, or?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty obvious play on 0, like the back and forth.
Yeah, because there's positive and negative.
But it's like a countdown clock. It's like the apocalypse clock. Is that what they call it? The
Doomsday
clock. The whole point of it was that we're leading up to this moment, and I keep people as invested in the story as possible. Like even if they get maybe a little bit bored in the middle of it. The whole point is that okay, stick it out. I really want to know what the hell happens at 0 and whatnot. Yeah. And then I put so much pressure on myself because I have to deliver. This 0 moment's got to be fucking badass. Otherwise, I've given all this time for nothing.
I assume a dog gets thrown out a window.
I'm just realizing now that there's a pretty dark ending at this one, and a lot of people are jumping out of windows. You'll have to read to find out why.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But
I was just guessing.
Yeah.
It was
very exciting.
It was really meant as a device. Everything that I write either has some sort of a subtle device. I don't want to beat people over the head with it because the story can continue without that if it doesn't need it. Or some sort of a high concept. High concept, for instance, Inception is a high concept film. Certain you're creating your own physics. You're creating whatever it might be. So in this one, I didn't really go the route of high concept, so I wanted some devices. So that was my device.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
Back to This Week in Film Talk. Charlie, we'll be back with you for more BoyZero.
Yeah, let me take this moment to step away and check in on my book signing table.
Charlie's going to the book signing table. We're still going to stick here, and I'm going to talk about the movies I saw this week in film.
Let me just...
I don't have a commercial.
When I put this down, is it going to crumble?
It probably will, yeah.
Great.
I'll just take it.
When I come... Here's a teaser. When I come back, we can do the reading that we talked about. All right? And goodbye.
I forgot to look at it. Right. So, Dan,
so Nick, what did you watch this week?
This week in film, I watched... I'm trying to decide which one I want to talk about. John Wick 2. I watched John Wick 2, Chapter 2. It was pretty great. Just start off with that. John Wick Chapter 2 is pretty great. It's nowhere near as good as John Wick 1, but it is definitely worth seeing and totally valid as an action movie. It was great. You haven't seen it, and I don't want to ruin it for you. But
do they continue with kind of building that world that they did in the first one with their own currency and kind of their code of ethics and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that stuff plays way into it. Probably way too much.
Oh, okay.
It gets way too involved in that stuff, and I think it starts getting bogged down with it because at a certain point, at a certain point, everyone in New York is an assassin. Like it's not really a secret society if it feels like everyone is a part of it.
Oh,
you
man,
know.
yeah. Now John Wick's like Syndrome from The Incredibles. If everybody's super, no one is.
Yeah.
So.
But the plot of this movie is basically it starts off with John Wick cleaning up his mess from the first one, and he goes home, and there's a guy there who, I guess John Wick owes a favor. It's called a mark, and John Wick has no choice but to pay him back. He must do whatever this guy asks because this guy helped John Wick get out of the crime syndicate the first time.
So that's something new that they introduced in this one, the concept of the marks, I guess.
Yeah. And because John Wick is forced into this, it really takes away a lot of the weight that the first one had. So, for instance, in the first movie, if you haven't seen it, in the first 10 minutes, John Wick's puppy is brutally murdered in front of him. This angers John Wick in a way that was amazing and gives him just a perfect singular focus for the movie to progress upon. It's John Wick is going to go after what's his name?
Theon Greyjoy.
He's going after Theon Greyjoy from Game of Thrones, and nothing is going to stop him on this journey.
He's going to avenge his dog and get his car back.
Yeah. He wants his car back, and he's going to avenge the dog, which was the last gift from his wife, who had recently died. This movie starts off with, hey, you got to do a favor for me. So John Wick's focus is, I don't want to do this. So like immediately you're like, oh, I don't want to do this either. I don't want to do this if John Wick doesn't want to do it.
Right.
You know?
So yeah, because in the first one he's like, so are you back? Yeah, I'm back. So he's like really determined. He's like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. Right. And this one they're like, are you back? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. I gotta do this thing. And it basically progresses from that point to a lot of cool action sequences. This movie felt a lot more choreographed than the first one, by which I mean if you want to think about Star Wars, the prequels, how like the lightsaber dancing that they do, as opposed to just the raw fighting of The Force Awakens, where it doesn't feel like this was choreographed and practiced a million times. Like this is raw hate pouring out of somebody.
And it was great. Yeah, that was great in The Force Awakens because all of those people were basically untrained except for obviously Kylo Ren. So it really kind of came out.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you got in the first John Wick. Is you had like this raw emotion driving a person.
And I think the camera work kind of showed that too from the first one.
Yeah.
Just it was how it was shot. It was
and like a lot of steady. It wasn't a shaky cam or anything like that. And this one is also very well directed. It looks great. A lot of interesting color decisions and everything like that. But the fight sequences just feel a little too polished. For instance, is like they have this whole sequence where John Wick is placing all of these weapons in a tunnel. And you're like, well, I guess we're going to see him use all these weapons, like why are we watching this scene? Like it'd be better if they just skipped that and he was just running down the tunnel and like
just pulling out weapons
and you're like, oh man, John Wick was really prepared for this. But also the fact that he is forced into this task that he has to do, it just feels like he owes a guy a favor, and then once he pays back the favor,
he's out.
Well, no, then he's like back in again because he's like, he wants revenge for having to do the favor. Yeah. Okay. So it's like, all right. Then Lawrence Fishburne shows up.
Wait, are you sure this isn't a spoilers, not spoilers episode? Did that really happen?
Yeah.
So
Fishburne,
Morpheus comes in.
Yeah, Morpheus shows up, and he looks just as surprised to be in the movie as I was to see him. He's like Birdman on top of a roof. He's like got his pigeons, and he's like, I got pigeons, John Wick. Okay. You got a lot of gall coming to me for help.
So obviously somebody that he knows.
Right. It's like an old person that he knows from way back, and then he goes away. He Lawrence Fishburne just disappears, you know? It's just like, let's get Neo and Morpheus back on screen together.
Right. It's not, well, I feel like it would almost seem like one of those things where, Keanu Reeves is kind of just doing him a favor, but I don't feel like Lawrence Fishburne is that bad off right now.
No, Lawrence Fishburne's
he's
great.
Doing fine. Yeah, he's doing all right.
And I think it's just kind of because the guy who directed John Wick and the sequel was like the stunt coordinator from the Matrix movies.
Yeah,
so I guess they were just like, let's get the gang back together.
Yeah.
But Lawrence Fishburne, every movie he makes, he puts on 20 pounds, as we all saw in the third Matrix movie, where he's got that giant gut hanging over the cave of full of people.
He was clearly stress eating from the revolution, man. Come on.
So in this movie, they put like 10 coats on him
to kind of cover that up.
He wears a coat that keeps his other coat clean, like from It's Always Sunny. And also, he's like probably covered in bird crap from all his pigeons.
So then he just puts another coat on top of it.
Right. So like Morpheus has his own underground team of assassins. Like Morpheus runs the homeless people.
Oh, okay. And the homeless assassins?
Yeah, the homeless assassins.
Good.
And then
they need work too, so
I don't even remember who the main bad guy is.
So I was going to ask you about.
I'm trying
that.
to remember.
So one of the things
really
about the first movie, John Wick, is again it's kind of disappointing.
Right. Okay.
Is that the main villain, not Theon Greyjoy, but like his boss was kind of like meh, and I feel like they kind of promised. I feel like they kind of promised that this villain would be better. So isn't it played by Common or somebody like that?
Oh yeah, Common is another assassin.
Oh, okay.
And their fight is very, very choreographed, and and it's just not very good. It's John Wick. Spoiler alert. John Wick is gonna win because there's a John Wick 3 being made.
Well, the people don't know that.
The end of the movie really gets you pumped up for the next John Wick. You're like, even though this movie was like a step back and like not nearly as cool or as innovative as the first one, you're still like, I love this movie. Like the action sequences are a lot of fun. Like I said, a lot of interesting decisions. There's one very cool sequence in like a hall of mirrors kind of thing, which was awesome.
That sounds awesome. Yeah.
You're just very excited to see where they go next. It's a fun action movie. It doesn't have to be deep or anything like that. It just so happened that the first one that they made was.
Yeah. It was a little bit deeper, yeah. So yeah. I'd be remiss. I'm sure there's a friend that we both know that would hate if I didn't ask you. How is John Wick's headshot accuracy in this movie as compared to the first one?
It is better.
Oh, wow.
I imagine the practice that John Wick had, and I find it impossible to just call him John. Like you have to call him John Wick. It's
absolutely.
Like how am I supposed to call him anything but?
Well, you have to differentiate between all the other Johns that Keanu Reeves has played. So,
exactly.
You have to.
That's right.
The other black suited Johns that he's played throughout the years. So
that's right. Because one of the first times you were on the show was when you saw John Wick for the first time.
Yeah.
And I watched Johnny Mnemonic.
Right. And then we talked about what's it, Devil's Advocate, and
isn't his name John in that too?
Maybe. I
like wasn't
going to
it
assume.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And
is his name
unless they because they kind of showed it and I don't remember what it is in the Matrix, I'm just going to assume that Neo's real name is John, but I don't think it was.
I think it was Tom.
Yeah. So basically we're going to the same kind of sounds there. But yeah. So then we have the Matrix, which is
ladies and gentlemen, if we could have your attention, please. 2 This Week in Film All-Stars have just entered the room. Tony LeBoy and Keith Seddon, come on down. Yay! The applause is deafening.
What's going on, guys?
Only Tony is coming to sit down.
Yeah, where's Keith? Come on, Keith.
Hey guys.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Keith.
You wanna? You don't. You know.
Hey, Keith.
Yeah, exactly.
Keith, welcome to the
How you
show.
doing?
Nice to meet
Tony.
you.
Yeah,
Tony.
nice to. Yeah, exactly.
Let's all slide down one.
down, yeah.
Let's all slide down.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
Let's do that. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Tony LeBoy.
Let me just say, this is quite a scene here. Hey, Charlie, what's going on?
So, yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
look,
great.
there's Charlie's here too.
Yeah, Keith, I hear you had a nice week at the beach. You invited everyone you worked with there.
Do you want to talk about the movies I saw?
I'd love to talk more about all the people you invited to the beach
Wow.
for this fun weekend.
It was great. John Wick, I watched that. Spider-Man 1, of course.
Keith,
Yeah.
we're going to play Set in Tomatoes.
Oh,
What time is it?
I don't know. We're running out. I know. I got.
We got plenty of time.
36.
I want to see what came out on Wednesday, and I want to talk to Charlie. Perfect together,
is-
right?
Oh,
That
there
is
you go.
amazing.
Good. I've been
Batman
reading the
and Elmer
Space
Fudd.
Ghost
Yeah.
and
I'm
the
not
Green
kidding, it is
Lantern.
amazing.
Maybe a new issue of Winona Earp down there as
Oh,
well.
okay.
Yeah.
There's a TV show on the Sci-Fi.
Ah, there you go. There
So,
you go, Nick.
if you're just tuning in to the podcast that's been playing in your car, it's This Week in Film, live from Showcase Comics in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. It's been a long time, Tony.
That's been a long time.
You got to talk right into that microphone.
I'm here.
There you
Hello.
are. There you are.
I'm here.
Tony, how have
What's
you
up?
been?
I've been good. How have you been, Nick?
I'm good. I have so many children.
Yeah.
Keith, it's been a
All
long
good.
time since you were here.
Yeah.
How are you-
Not at the comic book. I come here I come to the shop like once every couple weeks. So I've been here. I haven't been on the show in a long time though. If that's what you're trying
yeah,
to say.
yeah,
there.
yeah.
I see.
Right. Maybe for the last time. And so, Tony,
Yeah.
what'd you see this week?
Just today.
Yeah.
Say it.
We saw Baby Driver.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw Baby
yeah, all
Driver.
right.
Did
And
you
it was
see
awesome.
it with Keith?
Yeah.
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 Very cool.
Saw it with my wife and Keith.
It was exciting.
It was awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
so much
It looks
fun.
fantastic.
It was pretty fantastic looking.
Yeah.
Hi, Jackie.
Edgar Wright.
Good.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was it used everything like from the dialogue to
Right into that mic.
parts of the what am I trying to say? The background noise, things like that. They incorporated that into the score, which also helped tell the story a little bit. So
Yeah.
that made it like super
Because the
super
main
interesting.
character is weird with his ears or something, right?
Yeah,
Like
he has
he's-
what Keith tinnitus?
Tinnitus.
Yeah, he has
That's
tinnitus.
when-
So there's always like a
There's, like, ringing
deafening,
in his ear.
like a
Ring in
low
the ear,
ring in
yeah,
his
yeah,
ear.
okay.
Yeah.
Like Archer.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah,
Archer,
like
fan,
Archer.
Tony.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What if people want to shop back here? I feel like
Well, if they want to grab a issue of the Powerpuff Girls #1, we'll hand it to them. Certainly.
If someone's looking for Jedi
Skylanders.
Academy, the Phantom Bully, we'll
look,
hand that to them.
this is Charlie's comic book.
this is my copy of
Oh,
Charlie's
okay.
comic book. I
Nice.
came to get it signed by the man himself. So
Way to go, Char.
at some point,
Baby Driver.
we'll be over there.
It was awesome.
Hello? It was fantastic.
Was it better than John Wick? I don't know. I don't know.
No, but it did have some awesome driving scenes.
Yeah.
It was,
It's probably a-
very action packed.
a better film than John Wick, but man, that John Wick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally better script, I would say. It did get a little long. I'm not going to hesitate
I heard
to
you
say
sigh.
that.
I heard a sigh.
Yeah. It was
Midway.
it ran a solid hour 50. I
I
feel
feel like
it
you
could
tried
have
to
been an hour and a half.
reenact the sigh just then with the
I mean, that's how I feel about it every time I think about
Yeah.
that long scene.
And it was at a movie tavern, so that was like releasing
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
movie
okay.
tavern. You know,
Yeah. So you really needed to be 90 minutes.
Keith, just repeating the first part of your sentence is not going to.
I realized it after I was talking about releasing, and that's just
All right, there we go. So, Baby Driver.
Yeah, it was
so,
fantastic.
Edgar Wright's best, or just
I don't know about his best. I don't know if I would say that, but definitely his most unique I've ever seen out of him. It was like a unique watch. I felt
yeah.
for certain. It was,
Awesome transitions. That guy always has really good transitions, though.
yeah, huge cast, like
Huge
good all-star
cast.
cast. Jamie Foxx, John Hamm.
John Hamm.
Who else was in it?
Shane from Walking Dead wasn't it? in the
John
beginning?
Barenthal.
okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
he
That's
was in
his
it.
name.
did he rub his head and go, Let me ask you something.
He always plays kind of
Yeah.
like a guy with a screw loose, like
Yeah.
Guy with a past.
But he was only in the
So,
beginning,
yeah, he's
if
always,
there was
like,
a
kind of like-
second
he
one,
always
he'd
has, like, some
probably
sort of
come
tick.
back. Oh, Kevin
Yeah.
Let me
Spacey.
ask you something.
Kevin Spacey, huge.
Kevin
These
Spacey.
Bothering you?
Yeah, he always.
What's wrong with Rick?
He always. He's always looks like he's on the way or just came from shaving his head.
Yeah.
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 He's great as the Punisher.
He,
You saw Daredevil season 2.
No, I haven't. I've been slacking.
You didn't watch
Right.
season 2?
No,
yeah,
I didn't
you
even
need
finish
to
season
get, to get
one.
on that. Yeah.
I don't know. I fell off.
I
Well, this
didn't-
was
well.
This Week in Netflix. Keith,
Yeah.
it's time.
No, it's not.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We don't wanna-
ladies and gentlemen, we're about to play something that we haven't played in over a year.
As a,
It's a little game that has lit up the internet.
how many notes do you have taken there?
So many.
Oh my gosh.
Don't worry about it.
What?
Uh,
How is it?
this is Set in Tomatoes number 4 now.
Number 4.
And if you recall, Keith once lit up the internet with the statement,
It never happened.
I rate every movie,
Oh, that did happen.
whether it's better or
It was
worse
recorded, actually.
than Spider-Man 1.
Yeah. Have you
So-
ever seen Spider-Man 1?
So
Yeah.
real quick, Baby Driver,
Okay.
better or worse than Spider-Man 1?
I liked it, so it was better than Spider-Man 1.
But you liked Spider-Man 1, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you like this one better. All right.
So, Keith, we're going to mix it up a little bit this time.
Okay.
All right?
Sure.
Because we don't have time for you to leave.
We don't
the
have
room.
time for you to leave, and we don't believe that you'll come back.
I was hoping to shop some comics, though.
There's plenty of time for that.
Okay. Well, we're kind of...
But we're going
What's
to
the
play
shop
a little
open till?
game called Set in Tomatoes.
All right.
What's going to happen is I'm going to name a movie.
Okay.
You're going to tell us in one sentence what that movie's about.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it or don't know what it is, you've got to make up a plot for it
Oh, man.
and then tell us whether or not the movie would be better or worse than Spider-Man 1.
Nice.
Woo!
Also, we're going to throw in a little twist this time.
Okay.
Who's starring in the movie?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
So, Tony, would you like to start off at the top?
Yeah, I'd love to. I
We'll
love the
meet
selection.
again, Spider-Man.
love the first selection.
Now,
here.
don't say the year.
Yeah, don't say the year.
Uh-huh.
Tone knows the
Okay.
movies
Is it-
I've seen.
Go ahead. Say the year. Say the year. Say
All
the
right.
year.
So
Say the-
Bad Boys, but
Uh-huh.
the one that came out in 1983. What's that about?
Bad Boys. Starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
No.
All right.
It's a movie about two cops. And they're taking down crime. And I've seen Bad Boys.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe not this one, but I've seen Bad Boys.
So hold on. So this one is like a reboot, but they use the same actors. They seen the.
Yeah, it was a reboot in 1983.
No. I mean, you're saying the new one was a reboot of this 19, but they were way younger.
Haven't you seen these movies? Obviously not.
Go on, please.
Okay, better or worse than Spider-Man 1?
Well, just going off of the original Bad Boys, I'm going to say worse than Spider-Man 1.
Okay, so Keith, Bad Boys 1983
Uh-huh.
starred Sean Penn and Ali Sheedy.
Oh, man, I like
This
both those actors.
Chicago crime kid Mick O'Brien is sent to reform school after accidentally killing Paco.
That's it?
Yep, that's it.
Oh, it's probably not as good as
Dan, would
Spider-Man
you like
1.
to do the next line?
Can I get the one after, Dan?
What's no.
Oh.
So wait, you want to do?
Yeah.
So we're gonna do the next one. So this one,
Uh-huh.
the film is The Color of Money.
I've never seen The Color of Money.
Exciting. What's it about?
All right, Color of Money.
One sentence.
Stars John C. Reilly and Rob Schneider. They go into business together in a meatball sandwich shop. That's The Color of Money right there, baby. Meatballs.
That's definitely better than Spider-Man 1.
Oh, unfortunately, it's not as good as
Okay,
Spider-Man
all right,
1.
All right, so Paul Newman and Tom Cruise in the sequel to The Hustler. Fast Eddie Felson teaches a cocky but immensely talented protege the ropes of pool hustling.
Kind of like Kingpin, except with pool.
Exactly, which
Yeah.
which in turn inspires him to make an unlikely comeback. So exactly like Kingpin.
All right, is Kingpin
It's not
on
very
that
often
list?
you get
'Cause
a
I've seen
sequel
Kingpin.
30 years.
No.
Damn
Well, it really depends on how much money you have. It.
All right, Keith. Next up,
Yes.
from 1992,
Okay.
Lorenzo's Oil.
I've never. You're picking movies I've never seen and then making me tell you whether or not they're better or not. than Spider-Man 1. Lorenzo's oil.
Now you get the joke.
Lorenzo's oil. It's a post-apocalyptic film starring
In a way.
Judd Nelson and his dog. Judd Nelson and his dog.
Yeah.
Scamp. Thomas Howell. Wait, what?
Is the dog like animated? Is it voiced?
No,
by
it was
anyone?
real, and it could smell oil. And they were seeking Lorenzo's oil because it was like an old ditch that was left before the war, and now they're gonna repopulate.
Nick
Wait.
Nolte and Susan. Oh wait, better or worse than Spider-Man 1?
Worse than Spider-Man 1.
Nick Nolte and
Certainly a
Susan
lot more
Sarandon. A boy develops a disease so rare, no one is working on a cure.
See, kind of what I said.
So his father learns all about it to tackle the problem
Right.
himself.
So after the disease spreads, everyone dies, and that's when they're seeking Lorenzo's oil.
Yeah.
That by that movie title that didn't explain it to me.
Yeah. It was basically the movie you described meets There Will Be Blood. It was basically
Exactly.
it was just like that. Yeah.
Which I heard Daniel Day just retired.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. He
Yes.
pulled a Barry Sanders. He
That-
went out on top.
I think he more did a Jordan where he retired again.
Oh, that's
and
true,
He'll be
yeah,
back
yeah.
as soon
Did
as
he
Martin
retire?
Scorsese,
When did he retire? What was his first movie out of retirement?
Gangs of New York.
Ah.
Really? Yeah, that makes
all right.
I think he's going to start a rap career.
Nick knows things. Oh, like Hasselhoff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
All right, Tony, you want to take this next one?
Sure. This one is called The Bank Dick, 1940.
Oh yeah, the bank dick. I saw that in college. The bank dick. It's a movie starring. All right, I don't know this one. Can we skip it? Can we go to another one? Come
All
on,
right.
guys.
All right, go ahead, Tony.
How about, all right, let's see. Maybe you've seen this one. Tower Heist.
Oh, I tried watching that one. It's got Ben Stiller in it.
Yep.
And Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're trying to rob a tower that they work at. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And they got, someone screwed them over, and now we're gonna get your money back. I have no idea what happened in it. I don't remember. That was the same day I watched In Time with Justin Timberlake. So I was already done for that day.
So a solid movie day for you.
It was a pretty solid movie.
Hit
day.
after hit. Yeah.
I'm gonna
That's
say
the one where you sell your life.
it was. Yeah, you go to Starbucks and you're like, oh, I just lost a minute, but you get that coffee. I'm gonna say Tower Heist not as good as Spider-Man 1. I mean, come on, guys.
All right.
Good.
All right.
Dan, you want to pick one?
Oh my God, how
well,
many do you
there's
have?
a lot.
You think I can read that from
Keith,
over
you
here?
remember 6 months ago when you were supposed to show up?
We will.
Hey, bye, Bill.
Oh.
See you
Bye,
later,
Bill. Thanks
bud.
for coming out.
Later, Bill.
I know that guy.
Okay, we'll go with 2004's The Woodsman.
The Woodsman. All right, it's a prequel to The Woods Woman, and it was starring.
We're doing a show.
I'm sorry.
What? I'm being interrupted.
Hey, Judy,
Our
Joe,
fans.
Christy, what's up? Well, they
We're
keep
doing a show. We can't hear you. You don't have a mic.
They keep asking me all.
I don't know if
movies
you're
I've never
familiar.
seen.
Okay.
If you want to come up and tell us that the TSV is going to be moving later, that would be great.
Ah,
Yeah, that's a
I
I
get
know.
that though.
real
Yeah,
private.
Your dog in our show, yeah. The Woodsman, starring
What's it called?
The Woodsman, right? That's what it's
Yeah.
called.
Yep.
No, you
Woodsman.
pronounced
You
it
said
right
it-
the first time.
What did I say?
The Woods Man.
Well, it's a prequel to The Woods Woman,
Yeah.
which actually
Oh.
came out before it, and then they're like, "Oh, we're going to start over." So The Woods Men takes place in Alaska, and the man only has one leg, and he's seeking a replacement because he's all alone. He's the Woods Man. Later on, he meets the Woods Woman, and that's where the first movie started.
So they. Oh, okay. And then they have the last movie, The Woods Babies, right?
The Woods Babies, which that one was better than Spider-Man 1, but the
Okay.
first two, not so much.
All right, so Kevin Bacon and David Allen Greer, child molester, returns to his hometown.
You can't
after
say
12
that.
Years
You
in
can't
prison.
say that word. We're like, hey, Brady. I know
What
you
is
do.
wrong with the word bacon?
Yeah.
I missed him.
All right,
He's
Keith.
at the house.
Yeah, I would rather watch the movie that you described.
Yeah.
You know what? I thought I did a pretty bad job describing that one. So, all right, next one. Let's pick a movie I know.
Snatch.
Okay, Snatch. That's Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, right?
Yep.
Same thing.
No, that's a different movie.
Wait, is this the boxing movie?
You tell
I
us,
don't know.
Keith.
Yeah,
going.
Snatch. Boxing movie, right? It's probably got someone like Matt Damon in it or Brad Pitt. and they're fighting, and then high frame rate, you fall through the ring, and then slow-mo, like you're falling through the water. I saw that scene.
I thought it was one sentence for this game.
Yes, what are we?
I did not see this movie, and it is not as good as Spider-Man 1.
Nice.
I have to completely disagree with you on that. But you were pretty close. Brad Pitt, Jason Statham, unscrupulous boxing promoters.
You nailed it.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
thank you.
Okay.
All right, Keith, last one.
Okay. Whew.
My best friend's wedding.
Is that the Julia Roberts one?
I don't know.
Or is that Runaway Bride? Because that was cute.
It's adorable, really.
My Best Friend's Wedding, starring Ryan Reynolds and Mila Kunis. And, man, Ryan's getting married. He's my best friend. I didn't see it, and it wasn't as good as Spider-Man 1. Guys, this is awful, man.
Keith,
Oh,
the
man.
beads of sweat that are running down your forehead
Yeah.
are uncomfortable.
I just want some movies I've seen so I can give you a...
Julia Roberts and Cameron Diaz.
That's right.
Yeah, you were halfway there.
I got mixed up with the one about the pizza.
And that was Set in Tomatoes,
man.
number 4. Great job, Keith.
Nice job.
Thanks for
You
coming
got
by.
one right, but nice job.
Awesome.
It's been great, guys. How do I turn myself off?
Just hand the microphone down.
Here you go, Dan.
Just hand it to
Dan.
the table.
Now you got 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
There you
I'm going to go shop.
go. Sorry.
Buy Charlie's book.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go say hi to our artist friend.
Okay, go.
All
So, Tony, thanks for swinging by.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, if we could have Charlie's attention, Charlie, it's BoyZero time again. Tony and Charlie are doing some sort of elaborate handshake. Hi, Judy. Would you like to say hi to America
Hi to America.
and the world at large?
Hello.
We have a large
America.
contingent that listens in the Great Britain.
Listen.
You got to talk right into that microphone.
Can you hear me now?
I think it's breaking.
I don't. Oh, there I am.
Yeah.
That sounds better. You got to hold it like that?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, I'll just hold it.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to talk about?
Give her the other mic.
People need to hear what I have to say.
Say important thing.
Judy.
Hi.
What'd
Is this
you s-
better?
Judy, we're old friends. It's your
Yes.
first time on the show.
Long time listener, first time guest, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that how I say it?
Sure. If you want to hack it up. The Judy, what did you see this
Nick.
week in film?
I saw old movies. Does that count?
We already
If you
talked
watched
about
it
it. That
this
it's
week,
okay.
yes.
Oh, okay. I saw Gone Baby Gone, and I saw The Martian for the second time because I just read the book, so I felt like I had to see the movie
What'd you think?
again. Yeah, it's really good. It stays pretty true to the book.
I agree.
There's a few things that are different. The
Did you
ending's a
read the
little
book?
different.
The ending,
So-
they really Hollywood up the.
They
ending.
Hollywooded
Yeah.
up the ending, but
Holly weird.
yeah. But other than that, it was pretty good. And Gone Baby Gone, also very good. I thought.
Is that
feel like
the
Casey Affleck.
Casey, okay.
Yeah,
I have
he
never
reminded
seen
me
that.
a lot of Ben Affleck in this movie.
They're related.
Are they?
Yeah.
But I mean his acting style. I felt like he hadn't come into his own.
So he
He
blinked
was
a lot? Is that what you're
imitating.
saying?
Yeah, and talked
Okay.
fast.
Okay.
But it was. I think Ben made the dialogue, so it was. I felt a lot of
Oh, right. He
Ben.
directed it.
Yeah,
right?
Ben influence all throughout that film.
Oh.
But I thought it was pretty good. You know, it's a moral decision he has to make at the end, and you're not even sure if he made the right one by the time the movie ends. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
I've never seen it. It's always on my list, but I'm always go like, oh, I don't want to watch that today. I don't want to, like, it's like,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
want
not a
to.
happy movie.
I don't want
certainly.
to be depressed
Right.
for the next 2 hours, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's not happy, but it's good.
All right. Well,
Okay.
thanks for swinging by.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you
I'm
so
gonna go
much.
now
All right.
because I'm gonna go. Bye. It was fun.
Bye. Thanks
All
for
right.
thanks
Bye,
for coming
Charlie.
on the
This was
show.
awesome. Go BoyZero.
I don't know, but let's not swing it around like a hammer.
This one there. Because that's the one that works. So.
Oh, one's not working.
Charlie,
Hello. Hello.
I believe at this time you wanted to do a reading all by yourself.
No, I would love for you to join me in the
Oh, really?
Okay.
reading. Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
do you
wa-
have a copy?
I
Yeah,
do,
I
right
do,
here.
Oh, perfect.
What page are we going
Wow.
to? 1?
This is completely
As an award-nominated actor,
Who?
So you're totally going to be the waitress
It's just
down on
a-
her luck, right?
it's just an honor to be nominated, to be considered excellence amongst your peers.
All right. So.
I need to read.
Okay. So who's playing the part of Drecker?
I will be Detective Drecker.
Ah, all right. Okay.
And you'll be playing the part of disgruntled waitress?
Sure. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's Nick's show. It's the least I can do.
All right, so
And you are the narrator.
I'll narrate.
And set this up for us, Charlie.
So in the story, in the metropolis of BoyZero, it's called Glass City. Now, Glass City is kind of been crippled in fear because there's a serial killer that's been going around and killing everyone to a soundtrack. There's a song that kind of will play in every duckbill speaker, every radio station. When he's killing, he has complete control, and the song will start to play.
Oh.
So the story starts about 6 months deep into the killings, and everyone is distraught in the city. And now they've been demanding the mayors and the police to get on this. They don't understand why he hasn't been caught yet. So I wrote a couple articles in BoyZero under the character of Diane J. Fowle, who
A lady.
yeah, she's a columnist for Glass City Gazette, and she has the only interview with Detective Drecker, the lead detective on the Throne of God killings. And Detective Drecker is very private, so this is kind of a big deal for her.
Mm-hmm.
So this first article is kind of an introduction to the city for the readers, and kind of sets the backdrop of what the city's been going through. So with your guys' help, why don't we do a little read?
All
I'm
right.
excited.
All right.
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's do it.
All right, so she titles the piece "The Limits of Patience," part 1 of 2 by Diane J. Fowle, January 16th. It's 4:13 a.m. I'm sitting alone in the booth at the Olympus Diner on Fillmore and 10th. The scene is a familiar one. Taxi driver sits alone at the corner with a plate of eggs in front of him as a middle-aged waitress tops off his coffee. Otherwise, the place is empty. It smells of bacon grease and ammonia. It's quiet. It's cliché. It's truth. The night is cold. I haven't yet taken off my scarf or jacket. I cup the steaming mug of black coffee before me for warmth. The door opens and the bell jingles. I did not need to look up because I have been waiting. The waitress gives a warm welcome from the kitchen. It's a tired tick that has no meaning to her any longer. The same involuntary response the bell gives to the door. Standing in the doorframe is Nigel Drecker, lead investigator on the Throne of God killings. The flickering neon lights from the storefront makes his features ominous. He barely gives a grunt to the waitress. He makes his way towards me. He walks slowly, leaning heavily upon a cane. His posture has suffered over the years, no doubt from his injury. I stand to greet him with a smile and a handshake. The gesture is ignored as he wearily takes to his seat. I have not yet sat as the waitress makes her way over.
What can I get you, sugar?
Nigel points to the cup of coffee on the table.
One of those will be fine.
Anything to eat?
She says with a forced smile.
I won't be here long enough.
All right.
She's now given up on the sweet routine and walks off with a slight attitude in her step and a sway in her hips. No doubt a commentary to the small tip the black crude meal will yield. I produce a small digital recorder, place it upon the Formica tabletop. I give him the familiar "may I" glance. He returns it with ambivalence. I hit record and we begin. It's now 4:16 a.m. on Monday the 13th of January. I sit with Nigel Drecker to discuss the ongoing investigation of Glass City's Throne of God killings. As of right now, the case has been kept very cloak and dagger. No interviews have been permitted. Not a single press release has been issued. All that press and public have been privy to are the names of the victims and the names of the investigating officers. First question, Nigel. Why all the secrecy? Wouldn't you think the public should be kept informed? Not only for assurances in their safety, but in possible help from the public eye. Drecker stirs his coffee, placed before him. The wet scraping spoon of porcelain holds in the air a few beats too long.
Why do you think we are meeting at 4:16 a.m.?
I assumed you hoped I wouldn't show up. Nigel clicks the coffee cup rim with the spoon. This is his response. So I take it you were forced into this interview. Was it by your superior officers? Nigel sits statuesque. The mayor? Clink is his response. The public is afraid, Nigel. Petrified, so pardon me if I don't get to the point here. It's been 4 months with no answers. 6 murders with no end in sight. The public is calling for Police Chief Simmons to step down. They want a new team on this investigation, and I can understand why. This needs to be covered. I've done some number crunching, and I found that the crime is up this month over last. I'm not an expert on social behavior, but I think the writing is on the wall. The public has been losing respect for the police department. Criminals are becoming brazen and foolhardy.
I haven't heard a question.
We know nothing about this killer except that when the song plays, a victim is being mutilated somewhere. We are all united in that moment. Is the point to these killings that we're all united in that moment? Is the killer trying to bridge a gap between all of us? A clink of coffee cup reverberates through all the back alleys of Glass City. It wakes children and startles pigeons to flight.
We found the song to be an old slave song that predates radio. It's called When God Dips His Pen of Love into My Heart.
Can you tell me if this song has any meaning of importance to the case? Nigel sits quietly in his booth. He shifts his weight a bit, but nothing signifying a response. Now to my readers, I'm not proud of the following reaction and response. In news, our editors have the thankless job of refining our work and omitting unnecessary banter or emotional response irrelevant to the story. They keep us honest and away from tabloid writing and yellow journalism. But I insisted to have this printed in completion, no matter how unprofessional I conducted myself. So I must disclaim that this is now an op-ed piece. Now listen, you heedless prick. Your boss has you on orders to divulge information about the case. So I suggest you start doing such. Are you that cold and detached that you can't offer the people of the city some comfort? Don't you remember the oath you took when you started the job? Or have you given up on the very ideals that drove you into the police force? We are tired and scared. The people cry out for help, but like some benevolent statue, you offer nothing but a shadow to hide under in an already dark place. Nigel grabs his coffee cup, and under the pressure of his grip, the brim snaps. He tosses the broken cup across the diner. It crashes against the counter, startling the taxi driver and waitress to perfect posture. I have awoken a giant, and no one dares say a word. I can now see 25 years of chase and little reward behind his eyes. I see a kind face at your doorstep when your child has gone missing, the comforting face in the rain when you've been attacked and you're scared, the angry, determined face when violence is threatened, the wizened, patriarchal face when you are lost and need a lead. I see the face of Glass City, and it is sad and old. And the diatribe that he has for me is humbling and beautiful in its unbridled veracity.
Very nice. Very nice, Charlie.
Thank you.
I also did a great job.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
No, you
nailed it.
guys nailed those characters.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
I practiced on the way off.
Disgruntled
actually.
waitress, I thought, was very moving.
Oh, good. Yeah,
I
no,
really
tried.
wanted the cup of tea.
Did you?
I really did.
Oh, good.
yeah. It's like you guys got
Maybe
in my
the-
head. Those
Yeah.
were the very characters.
We were there.
Yeah.
All right.
We were
Yeah.
there with all of them.
Were you doing a Donald Glover?
I-
That's what I heard.
I don't know. Like the character just kind of reached out
Yeah.
from within me to you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I spent the last few months getting my body ready for this role, actually. So yeah, it really put my heart into it. And,
That's great, man.
thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate
It's for
it.
you.
All right, Charlie. It's about that time.
Yeah.
What have you got to plug?
Well, there's a book I worked on called BoyZero. It can be bought at Amazon. It can be bought on BarnesandNoble.com or in stores. You can go to any comic book shop in the country and ask for BoyZero. If they don't have it in stock, they will order it because it's distributed by Diamond Distribution, which is the main distribution company for comic books. It's also available for digital download on Comixology, Drive-Thru Comics. You can go to calibercomics.com and get it there. That's the publisher. I'm going to be attending a comic book convention, my first one, in late August, the Soda City Comic Con.
Cool.
So, yeah, if anyone lives in South Carolina and wants to come on down, It'll be a lot of fun.
Lots of people live in South Carolina.
Yeah. Do they listen to this podcast though?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Great.
Yeah.
Come on out.
Yeah.
And
Your South Carolina.
yeah. And the only the only other thing is
I have no follow up to that.
at the Soda City Comic Con, I will be debuting the first issue of my new comic book series.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm excited about that.
Can you tell us the title?
Filthy, Godless Heathens. Copyright.
All right, Dan. Anything to plug?
I don't. Just want to say hello to my lovely wife Emily and my daughter Christina. And that's it.
Very good. I'd like to say hello to my wife Jill, who let me come out and play tonight, and hi to my 4 kids: Alex, Natalie, Lillian, and Charlotte. Got them all.
Yeah.
And I guess if that's the end of the reel, we'll see you next week in film.
That's still the tagline.
It's still, we haven't changed it.
Great.
I had something about house lights coming up at one point, but it didn't work.
Yeah. It's a good
At this point, the ending music is playing,
Yeah.
and
taper off.
fading out.
Goodbye. Thanks for the
The end-
support, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Congratulations, Charlie.
Thank you, guys.